Okay, so here's a Chapter 2 practice worksheet that will help prepare you for the Chapter 2 exam. Um, Not everything that will be on the exam is on this one worksheet. So some things I'm going to let you guys use as notes. So notes you're allowed to use on Chapter 2 exam. So first of all, this practice, right? So this Chapter 2 practice. I also think I'm going to let you guys use the Chapter 2 team test because it has some good examples on there for you guys to refer to. And then there was I think it was called Chapter 2 Prep, and I think I had DL on it because I forgot to erase that from distance learning last fall. But those worksheets, these three things, you can use on the Chapter 2 exam. Okay, so make sure that you find these. If you don't have it, maybe you were absent whenever I handed them back. If, like the Chapter 2 Prep DL, it might be in the bin that's over on my TA's table by the door. So you guys could always check your periods bin to see if your work is in there. Chapter 2 team test will be handed back today, actually, for this period, and then you guys get the Chapter 2 practice today. So I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. I want you guys to make sure to try the problems on your own first and then follow my video through to make sure that you do it correctly. Okay? So this first one here, match like terms by writing the letter next to the like term on the right. So this was very similar to your guys' EST problem that you guys took just recently. So first we want to look at the variable. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. At the variable and the exponent for that variable. So this one is negative 3x squared. So looking on the right for x squared, I see right here negative 5x squared. So those two are like terms. And then the next one, we have x squared and y. Okay, so the x is the one that has to be squared. So it's not this one here because there the y is squared. It would be the negative 4x squared y. So those two would be like terms here. Okay, and then we have here the variable a. So if we look on the right hand side, I see 2.78. So those two will be like terms. And then here, now we have the xy squared, right? So the x just has a variable of, or I'm sorry, an exponent of 1, which we don't have to write that. X to the first power is just x. So we have xy squared. So that would go with this one down here. Those two are like terms. And this is just 1xy squared is what that is technically. And then this one here, we have xy. So looking on the right hand side, you want to find the one with just xy. So this one would match with E. Okay, so these two do not have a match. You can leave them blank, cross them out, whatever you want. But just understanding what like terms are is what the problem is asking here. Now, at number 2, this will not be on your test. Okay, so not on test. But it is a valuable skill still. It has to do with solving equations or making sure to keep everything balanced and writing a simplified expression. So here, what it wants you to do is write an expression for the tiles as they appear. So on the top here, we have a positive side, is what this is. The plus up there, that means it's the positives. So whatever you see, it is what it is, right? If they are shaded in tiles, then they're positive. If they are not shaded in, then they're negative. So here I see I have a negative x squared. So I'm going to go and write that down, negative x squared. And then I have a positive 1x, so plus x. And then a negative 1x minus x. And then I have 1, 2, 3 positive 1s. And then 1 negative 1. Okay, so I'm not simplifying them, right? So I'm like combining other like terms. I'm keeping the positives and the negatives separate. Now, down below here, we have the negative side of this expression mat. Again, you guys probably haven't seen this unless another teacher showed you in the past. I did not pull out the expression mats this year, that was just my decision. But this is how they work. So this would mean that everything is going to have a negative distributed to it. Okay, so this I would still write here as a negative x squared. And then I have two positive ones and then one negative one. So I mean, I could technically have flipped them all up to the positives, right? That would be the same thing as distributing this negative here. But this first part, I just wanted an expression for how they appear. So now part B says, on the mat, circle and take out all of the 0 pairs that you can find. Okay, so there are 5 possible 0 pairs over here. So I'm going to erase what we got going on here. So I'll go ahead and go color by color. So I'm going to find one pair. I see this negative x with that positive x can be taken out. Okay, and then one of these positive ones with the negative one. And then on the bottom part, I have a positive one and negative one. And then now this one's a little bit tricky. So that was 3 pairs so far. Okay, 3 different pairs. There are 5 possible pairs. So on each side, I have a positive one here, positive one here. If I flip this guy over, that becomes a negative, so I could cancel those out there. Okay, so the way I would do it though is just showing that if I have one on this side, I subtract it and subtract one from that side as well. And then I can do the same exact thing with the x squared. So these are both the negative x squared. If I were to flip this guy over there, it would become a solid x squared. So then it would cancel out with the other x squared. So you guys could also see this. So I'm going to simplify this up here. So here I have negative x squared. X minus x here cancels out. 3 minus 1 is positive 2. Over here I distribute the negative, so that guy to that one. That becomes a plus x squared. The negative to the positive 2 becomes minus 2. Negative to negative 1 becomes plus 1. So now if we look here, negative x squared plus x squared is 0, right? Those two cancel out. And then I have also positive 2 minus 2, that is 0. And if you guys see here, I'm left with 1. And over here on the mat, I'm also left with 1. Right? So you should end up with the same amount if you're using an expression mat or if you're just combining like terms, etc. You should get the same thing. So this answer, the final answer would just be 1. That would be it. That's all that's left once you simplify it. Okay, so number 3 is combining like terms. And always show your work. So a way that you can show your work is even like on the chapter exam, you guys should be doing the problems on paper, right? So you should have a piece of scratch paper. You should be writing out the problems very carefully and doing them that way. So color is always very helpful. You guys know I have colored highlighters underneath the TV at the front of the room. So make sure to go up there and grab that if you want to see different colors to help you combine like terms. So first I'll just start off with the first part is 3. So I'm going to see this 3 does not have a variable. So I also see that negative 2 does not have a variable. So I'm just going to rewrite those here. So 3 minus 2, and that is going to equal 1. Okay, so I took care of those. Now I see 7x, and then I see a positive 3x. So this is going to be positive 7x plus 3x, which gives me 7x plus 3x is plus 10x. Okay. And then I see positive 4w minus 6w. Those were already side by side, but I'll still write them. So 4w minus 6w, remember that your sign is always in front of the term. 4 minus 6 should be negative 2w. Okay, and then to reorder them, you want it to be in alphabetical order. Your answer might appear, as this on the test if it doesn't say put it in alphabetical order, or it might automatically put them in alphabetical order. So this one should go 10x minus 2w plus 1 would be the correct order if it was more specific about that. So there you go. All right, so part B. Again, please make sure that you're pausing and trying these first. So we have 5ab, and I see 2, positive 2ab, and there's no other ab's here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and combine those two. So we have 5ab plus 2ab. That will give you guys 7ab. They're both positive. Okay, and then I'm already looking for the correct order. So looking at my other terms, I have 6 that has no variable. That's going to go at the very end. But I see xy. That will go before the y term here. So I have positive 3xy minus 2xy. So positive 3xy minus 2xy. That's going to be a positive 1xy, or you could always just write plus xy. And then I see here that we have 6y, and there's no other y terms, right? So I'll write that here just to keep it accurate, but that just stays plus 6y. There's no other just y terms to combine that with. And we cannot combine it with the xy's because it does not have an x. So, and then here we have positive 6 plus 1. So since both of those do not have a variable, they're going to go at the end, and we can combine those. So positive 6 plus 1 is positive 7, and here is your answer. Okay. I want to show you guys what I saw another student do, and I really, really liked her method. So what she did was she kind of made a chart. So she figured out what all the different terms were. So I saw that she went ahead and started highlighting. So she saw we had x squareds here. So I'm just going to write x squareds here. Draw a line down. So just kind of watch this before you start writing it so you actually understand. And then she saw negative xy's, for example. And then here's a positive 2xy. So these terms here are going to be the xy's. She drew a line here. And then she saw that we had y terms, 2y and negative 4y. So then she wrote y here. Just saying that those are the y terms, right? And then for the numbers, here we have negative 6 and positive 1. So she just wrote a hashtag number sign, like that. Okay. So then what she did was she looked for the blue terms, right, the x squared terms. So we had 3x squared plus 5x squared. And that gave her 8x squared. And then she looked for the xy. So we have negative xy plus 2xy. Negative xy is just negative 1xy. So negative 1 plus 2. That is the same as positive 2 minus 1. So that just gives us a positive 1xy. Or you can just write plus xy. And then for the y terms, we had positive 2y minus 4y. So you have to do 2 minus 4 is negative 2y. And then for the constants, with the ones without the variables, we have negative 6 plus 1. So negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So then, in case she didn't have it in alphabetical order, now she would look and make sure that she arranges the terms. So now I'm just going to rewrite the answer here. We have 8x squared plus xy minus 2y minus 5. And that would be your simplified expression there. So this was a nice organized way that I actually haven't seen students do in the past, and I really did like that. So props to her. She knows who she is. I might have tweaked it a little bit and given a little bit more to it, but all right. So D, please make sure you're trying these on your own first. You can use whatever method you want as long as you know how to do it, right? So I see here we have 4x minus x. So I'm just going to rewrite those here. 4x minus x, and there's no other x's, so I'm just going to go and combine these, get it out of the way. That should be 3x. And then now I have negative 8y, negative 8y minus y. So I want to be careful with that negative. Remember, you guys can use a calculator. So this is really negative 8 minus 1 is what you would do in the calculator, just to double check, or you can use a number line. Negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. So negative 8y minus y is negative 9y. And then we have positive 6 plus 5. So positive 6 plus 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. So this should be your simplified expression there. So make sure that you're understanding. If not, maybe try asking your neighbor for help or email me for clarification, okay? All right, so number 4, these are solving equations. These are very important for you guys to practice, and they do take a lot of practice. So don't get down on yourself if you're still struggling a little bit. I'll try to walk you through the steps the best that I can. So we'll do the first one over here, 4x minus 3 equals 13. The goal here is to solve for the variable, so it means get the variable by itself. Our variable here is x. So that's what we want all alone to be left alone on that side. So first, I need to move this 3 over, so I have to zero it out on the left-hand side. In order to zero out negative 3, you must add 3 to it. So whatever I do on one side, I must do to the other. It's just like in number 2 up here, where I was talking about, well, if I wanted to move it this way, I'd have to flip it over, so then it would become a positive x squared tile, right? That's the same idea as moving something over the equal sign, right? So if we're moving the negative 3 away from the left-hand side, we must do the opposite to both sides to move it, okay? So here, these two cancel out, so we're just left with 4x equals 16, 13 plus 3. So this is saying 4 times some number equals 16. The sum number is the x, right? So if we want to figure out what we have to multiply 4 by to get 16, we can divide 16 by 4. So that would be working backwards. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're left with 1x. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And that makes sense because here 4 times 4 is 16, right? So it makes sense that x equals 4. And if you guys ever wanted to check your work, what you would do is you would take this, and instead of having the x there, you're going to plug in what we just solved, which we got 4, right? So you're going to plug that in here and see what the solution is. So 4 times 4 is 16, minus 3 is 13. And that is what this equation said it should equal. Okay, so that's a way that you guys could check your work if you wanted to. That might help you out a little bit. Okay, so now this one, again, please try it out. If now you understand a little bit better, give it a shot. I'm solving for the x here, so I need to move everything else away from that. So the first thing I can do is subtract 2 here from both sides, because then that zeroes this out. It's moving the 2 over to the left. 6 minus 2 is 4, equals 2x. 2 times what equals 4? You can find that by dividing both sides by 2 here to get this to equal 1x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So again, we could check it. I'm just going to plug in my 2 there. So this becomes 2 times, instead of x there, I'm going to put it 2, because that's what I got here, plus 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. Yep, that's what we should have gotten. So that's how you guys could always check your work. Okay, so now this one, 12x equals 3x minus 9. Again, please make sure you try it first before you watch mine. So my first step is I'm going to add 9 to both sides because, again, I'm solving for x here. So I need to move. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm glad so let's stop. I'm half asleep, so I didn't even look at the full problem. We have x's on both sides. I cannot add 9 to 12x, so that is not my first move. Whoops. So I notice here that if the negative 9 is on this side, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3x from both sides to move all my x's over to the same side, right? So this 12x minus 3x is something I can do because they both have an x. So 3x minus 3x is 0. 12x minus 3x is 9x. And then this is negative 9. Be careful with those negatives. Sometimes students forget about those if it's like the term that's left over. So now we have 9 times some number x equals negative 9. You might be able to think of it already what the answer is, but you could also get it by undoing this multiplication here by dividing by 9 to leave yourself with 1x. So whatever you do on one side, you must also do on the other. So we're going to get x equals negative 1. And that makes sense because 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. So if we wanted to check this, it's going to be 12 times the x should equal 3 times the x minus 9. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug this in, negative 1, negative 1. And I'm just going to simplify each side. So this side, 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. This side, this should be negative 3 minus 9, which is negative 12. So they do equal each other. So that means we found the right answer. Okay. All right, so I gave you guys a little hint on this one. So we have here 3x minus 9 equals negative 1 times x minus 3. We must distribute the negative 1 into the parentheses. So this is what is attached to the parentheses here. So this would be negative 1 times x is negative 1x, or just negative x, whichever you prefer. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. And then on the left-hand side, I have no like terms, so I'm just going to rewrite it. 3x minus 9 equals negative 1x plus 3. So this is definitely a multi-step equation. There's more than just 1 or 2 steps, right? So now you want to get all of your x terms to one side. I don't like dealing with negatives, so I know that if I wanted to undo this negative 1x here, I have to add 1x to zero it out. So if I add 1x on that side, then I also need to add 1x on this side as well. And I cannot add it to the 9 because that 9 does not have an x. 3x plus 1x works. We can do 4x there. 4x, I'm just going to bring down the negative 9, then bring down the positive 3. So now we're a lot closer, and remember, you guys want to just focus on that part there now. Okay, nothing else before it. That's all simplified. So our goal is to just break down the problem to where it's smaller and easier to solve for x. So now here we're going to go ahead and add 9 to both sides because we want to move that away from the side with the x term because we want to get that down to 1x. So we're left with 4x, and 3 plus 9 is 12. So 4 times some number equals 12. If you want to undo this division to solve for that, undoing the division will leave you with, instead of 4x, you will have 1x left. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, so now if you wanted to check this, it's a little bit longer, but it's still possible. So I'm just going to put like parentheses where the x is up there. So we have 3x minus 9 equals negative 1 times x minus 3. I'll just leave this as a line because it's already in parentheses. So we had gotten positive 3 as our x, so let's put in 3. So here, 3 times 3 is 9, minus 9 is 0. Right, I'll draw a line here just to differentiate the two. This one, if we follow PEMDAS, right, we simplify inside the parentheses. So 3 minus 3 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. And 0 equals 0. So that means, yep, we got the right answer. Checking it will help you guys. If you learn how to check your answers well, then you'll be able to catch your mistakes before you answer on the test and don't know that it's a mistake yet. Okay, so now over here, 7x minus 10 plus 2 equals 3x. I notice on this side here that I have two like terms. The negative 10 and the 2 both do not have a variable. So we can simplify those two to minimize our equation here. Negative 10 plus 2 is negative 8. Okay, So then I'm just going to rewrite the 7x here. 7x minus 8 equals 3x. And now that's a lot more manageable, right? So since I already have my constant term negative 8 on the left-hand side, I'm going to move the 7x over here. In order to do that, I guess legally in mathematics, you can subtract the 7x from both sides because then it zeroes it out from the left side. So now we're left with negative 8 equals 3x minus 7x should be negative 4x. Be careful with those negatives, guys. So make sure that if you are unsure, if you just want to double check and make sure you get the answer correct, please make sure to put this into your calculator, 3 minus 7. Do not put variables like x or anything like that into the calculator, just the coefficients, the numbers. So now we have negative 8 equals negative 4x. So this is saying negative 4 times some number equals negative 8. In order to solve that, we can divide both sides by negative 4, because that will equal 1x. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 will be a positive 2. Okay? So now if we wanted to check that, we first started out with 7x minus 10 plus 2 equals 3x. Okay, whoops, I forgot to just put parentheses. So 7 times 2 minus 10 plus 2 is just minus 8 equals 3 times 2. So we're checking that, right? So 7 times 2 is 14 minus 8 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Yep, 6 equals 6. So we got it right. We're good to go. Okay, so that's how you guys can check your answer for that one. All right, so let's see here. Chad is in a hot dog eating contest. He eats 32 hot dogs in 4 minutes. At what unit rate hot dogs per minute does Chad eat the hot dogs? So if it tells you right here, hot dogs per minute, right, that would be the unit rate. You want to set it up hot dogs per minute. So 32 hot dogs per 4 minutes. So if you guys divide that in the calculator, you would type it in like 32 divided by 4. So it's how many hot dogs can he eat in 1 minute. That should be 8 hot dogs. You can write per minute, or you can write it as a fraction still, which this line right there in a fraction, that's per. That means per. Really, right? I mean, yes, it's division, but if we're talking about proportions like this or ratios, it's per. So 8 hot dogs per 1 minute. So this is the unit rate. Right here. 8 hot dogs in 1 minute. So now it says complete the table. Whoops. Sorry about that. Now it says complete the table to show how much he eats for various numbers of minutes of eating hot dogs. So if he's eating hot dogs for 3 minutes and he eats 8 hot dogs in 1 minute, you can either do 8 plus 8 plus 8, or that is the same thing as doing 3 times 8, right? 3 times 8 is 24. So he would eat 24 hot dogs. And then for 10 minutes, eating 8 hot dogs per minute, you can just multiply 10 times 8, and that equals 80 hot dogs. Now this one's a little bit tricky. It tells you how many hot dogs he ate, and you have to determine how many minutes it took him to eat that many hot dogs. So this one you want to work backwards. If I'm multiplying by 8 here, now I'm going to take 64 and divide it by 8. So this 64 came from the right-hand side. And this one is nice. It's just 8 minutes. Right? And that makes sense because 8 times 8 is 64. So 8 hot dogs per 8 every minute. And 8 minutes would be 64 hot dogs. All right, real quick, I realized I would have swapped out number 2 for some diamond problems. So you guys can do this anywhere you have room on the paper, but just let's remind ourselves about some diamond problems, okay? First of all, the rule, let's say I have some number A and some number B. To get the top, you multiply those two numbers by each other. So this top would be 8 times B, and the bottom would be A plus B. You add them. So let's say that I know the top number. Let's say my top number here is 20 and my side number is -4. And let's say I did not know this one or this one. So what you guys could do is if you don't see right away that you would divide, this is what you can do. You can say, okay, well, I'm just going to call this orange side X for now. And I'm going to write an equation. So I know that according to my rule over here, right, I know -4 times X should equal 20. So whatever that X is, I'm multiplying it by -4 to get 20. You guys should know how to solve these one-step equations. -4 times some number equals 20. You can divide both sides by -4, right? This is just an equation. So -4 divided by -4 is 1x. 20 divided by -4 is -5. So now you know that x is -5. And once you find it, right, you can erase it. You don't have to call it x. You can just write -5. And then now for this bottom one, it's going to be -4 plus -5, which is the same as just -4 minus 5. So this one would be -9. So you always have to know these two numbers before you can find the top or the bottom. Okay. So now let's say that, the bottom is, let's say, -34, and let's say that this one here is, oh my gosh, why am I thinking so hard about this? Let's say that this one here is 30. Okay, let's do -30. So we don't know this one, and we don't know this one up here. We must find that red one first. You have to find the one on the right or the left first. So I'm going to say that this is an X here. So what this tells me that -30 plus X should equal -34. Okay. You might have also written this as like X plus -30 should equal -34. And that's fine. You can just rewrite that as X minus 30 equals -34. And I'll show you that we'll do the same thing either way. Okay. So over here to solve for X, the first one, I'm going to add this 30 to both sides, because I'm trying to keep X by itself. So -34 plus 30 is -4. So X equals -4. And you would get the same thing over here if you wrote it with the X term first. That's fine. You add 30 to both sides. We get X equals -4. So once you know that X equals -4, right, then you can put that here on the right. -4. And now to get the top, you can do -30 times -4. Right? And then if you did that in your calculator, you would get positive 120 would be your answer up there. Okay, so those are just little tricks for diamond problems. Make sure to review the team test problems, the Chapter 2 Prep DL problems, and of course these problems. Remember, all of your Khan Academy is due before class tomorrow. Even if you're absent tomorrow, you have to email me, get that Khan Academy done. Okay? Please email me if you guys have any questions. I'm here to help you.